Hi, welcome to another episode of Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yeah, thank you for joining with us again.
We always love doing this. Mom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Brandon. How are you doing today?
All is well here.
Good. Sounds great. Are you ready to talk about another episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Brandon?
I'm ready, are you?
I think I am, Brandon. And we're talking about episode 3 called The Asset.
Yes, this episode came out October 8th, 2013.
Alrighty. And I'll give just a little synopsis. And this particular episode, Dr. Franklin Hall has been kidnapped during a truck driving quote unquote incident. Apparently, he was hidden in the back and he was quote unquote kidnapped. And Shield's been asked to find him. They later find out that his kidnapping was an inside job and that someone named Ian Quinn was actually holding him, sort of. But anyway, and so they need to rescue Dr. Hall. And so Skye is actually the one who's going to be used as the main person to kind of help rescue Dr. Hall. And then we're discovered that Dr. Hall is important to S.H.I.E.L.D. because he has discovered something called, and I think I'm saying this correctly, maybe not, gravitonium. And and then at the end, we're discovered that Dr. Hall is kind of enveloped by his own discovery. Um, and then Coulson, in the midst of all of this, does find out how he was kidnapped. And so I don't want to give away everything, but that's just a little enough so you know what's going on in this particular episode. All right, Brandon, back to you.
Well, Mom, overall, what did you think about the episode?
I thought the episode was fine. I did watch it twice, and so my second time around, I actually remembered more than I actually thought I would. What I had to find out that I had to concentrate on was really his invention or discovery that he made, so that I could fully understand why he was quote unquote kidnapped or why others wanted to know what he knew. In particular, this was Ian Quinn who kind of knew what he had discovered, and so understanding why Ian was important and then why Dr. Hall was important. That's what I kind of discovered on this particular episode in regards to the other characters that are involved.
Well, that makes sense. And so, for a little bit of background, is we did our very first Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. discussion with the pilot back in July of last year. Then we watched up to this point on episode 3. We took a break for a few months, and then somehow we're catching back up. So we're now officially caught up to where we were last time.
Yeah, we are. And for those of you who are new to this and wondering why we're doing this, Brandon has seen, I think, every episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he has asked me to kind of watch and to kind of discover S.H.I.E.L.D. myself. And so I told him that I would do this for the first season, and then we'll see how long I kind of carry on afterwards. But every week we're going to tackle one episode, at least for the first season, and we're going to try to do these on Wednesdays, perhaps Thursday. But anyway, so we're attempting to do right now. Brandon, what else did you want to discuss about this episode?
Yeah, so Mom, 3 episodes in, what would you say do you think the dynamics are for the team, and have you learned anything about some of the characters a little bit more now, sort of figuring out their personalities and who they are?
Yeah, I think to me, this is more of a discovery portion of the series. I could be wrong later, but for right now, I say that in regards to learning more and more about the characters. Yes, we do have these extra scenarios that are going on, but I think this is just to help us discover how the characters are as people and what they kind of stand for. And so this is what I've learned so far, and actually what I picked up on this particular episode. Let's talk about Grant. We learn a little bit more about his family. We learned that he has brothers who kind of give him a hard time when he was younger. And we also learned that he's from Massachusetts. From Skye, we learned that she was from the foster care system. And we also learned that she is learning self defense from Grant, or at least attempting to learn self defense from Grant. And we learned that she learns boxing from Grant in this episode. And she learns how to defend herself. Although I'll be quite honest with Skye, I think she knew quite a bit of this before coming into it. But because during one of the points where she was trying to help rescue Hall, um, or I should say she was with Quinn at that time, really. She kind of did some self defense moves, and I don't remember if Grant really taught her those particular moves. But anyway, so she learned self defense, And then we know that she's clever. You've known that from the beginning. But then we also learn that she's willing to tell her story to others um, to see if it will help her and to help her out of an instance. And because she was with Quinn trying to figure out how to get to Hall, but at the same time, she was telling a lot of the truth about what was going on, and she didn't fabricate her story, which, like, I thought she would have during that instance. And so it'll be interesting to see what Skye is really up to. From Coulson, we learned that he has forgotten one of his self defense moves. I'll let you watch the episode to see what that is. And then May, we learned from her that she wants to be more involved with more of the combat fighting or adventures, because initially we're told that she doesn't really want to be involved with that part anymore, but she has discovered, or she has now stated, that she wants more of this. And Brandon, this is what I learned from this particular episode. Is there anything that I missed?
No, I mean, before I sort of hit on some of the other people, I mean, I thought that you was that were very observant and everything, and I know what you're speaking about for Skye. That I remember, like when we got to the point where she was telling Quinn about all this information about how Shield was listening. I know you looked at me and was like, "Really?"
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't quite sure. I mean, I don't know what kind of character Skye will end up being. However, I was surprised that she gave up that much information initially. I kind of knew that she was not going to turn against Shield, at least not at this point anyway. So I wasn't really worried overall. I just was surprised that this happened so soon.
Yeah, I will say that, I mean, for the audience, that I don't fully remember as to how the entirety of season one is really formatted. I know that we have all of these one-off adventures, as you're sort of seeing now.
Yes, yeah, we are. Although I'm enjoying the adventures, they really are easy to remember. I do have to take notes for the details, but their general sense is easy to remember because even your daddy remembered portions of it when we watched this a year ago.
And yeah, I mean, it definitely, I think, is very memorable. And I kind of like being able to see the sort of team dynamics and as they sort of work things out, even if it is a little bit slower. And I will just note, too, that when you're mentioning all the characters, is that you didn't give any thoughts about Fitz and Simmons.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't necessarily know if I learned anything different about them this week. I mean, or maybe they're both incredibly smart. And yes, they did help with the gravitonium and helping to know what it was and helping to identify and the characteristics of it. Um, However, I'm not sure if I learned anything or if I did, missed it completely, Brad. And so I didn't concentrate on them this episode, or there was not anything overt for me to pick up. And did I miss anything?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I pretty much had a similar assessment. I'd say that when I was watching this the first time, that I think at the end of the second episode, I was trying to figure out about like which characters, which in terms of storylines, this and that. Probably shouldn't have looked it up in retrospect, but nevertheless, though, yeah, I mean, I think that's it overall for the episode. But I actually did want to flip this and say, so, Mom, what were your thoughts about the sort of villains of the episode?
You know, I don't know if I have specific thoughts about the villains of the episode. I did see at the end that, and I don't think it's much of a secret, that the main character was enveloped by the substance that was made. But his hand did stick out at the end, so to kind of assume that he will eventually come back. I really don't remember what happened to Quinn. That sounds bad, but I really don't remember what happened to Quinn. What, if anything, happened to him? But we know what happened to Franklin Hall. So I'm assuming that his character will pop back up at some point in time. Um, Maybe Quinn will also, since I don't remember what happened to him. And by the look on your face, I don't think you remember what happened to him either.
No, I don't. I don't remember much about him. You know, it wasn't until seeing this episode that I forgot he was even a part of the series. In all honesty, so I mean that sounds so bad, but I don't think. Ian Quinn's that memorable.
Okay, well, good to know. But yeah, so we'll have to see what episode 4 brings for us.
Yeah, we definitely will. And like I said, Mom, I'm so glad that we're able to have this chat today.
Actually, I'm glad we're able to talk about it too. So we thank everybody for watching today.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, bye everybody.